semi-skimmed milk, little thing of milk here. Alright people, we're back with another live, and this is a live that has on me. It's come quite quickly, but I don't really know how to put it really. It's come quickly, but I guess I am kind of still doing it early. Now, I wanted to get this done because obviously, you know, when approaches, people get busy, you spend it with family, you do different things over the festive time. So I thought, to be fair with you, it's gonna kind of be easier to do it now. And to be honest, I can't see myself getting like a whole load of more gigs this year. I mean, there's only like 3 weeks left of the year. So without further ado, without further ado, however you say it, my mind's just gone blank. This is my rating for my gig of the year. So this is sort of the rating of events that I you know, so basically this is a rating of all of the events that I played at, from sort of the worst to the best. But the worst doesn't like necessarily mean I've got any of the event or that I wouldn't play for the event again. So like, if you do watch this and you have booked me for an event, do not take this personally, because I'm not doing this stream to badmouth your event and make out that your event was like the worst in any way, shape or form. I'm just rating this in the sense of how good my enjoyment was, and just in general. It will be a little bit about how the event went and how well it was promoted as well, but it's not meant against anything harshly about your event as such. It's a hard one because I want to do this, but I want to do it in a way that isn't going to offend people and make them think, well, I'm not booking this guy again, because it's a bit of. But I think we're just going to get on. We're going to get in there and we're going to do it. So what we'll start off by doing is we're going to start thinking back to all the events that I played. So really, it all started for me with the Harder Southwest Fest. So that was kind of like where it started for me, because you've got to remember that for a good chunk of this year we were still under like COVID restrictions and we were still in lockdowns. So gigs didn't start till I think it was June. I think it was June, and then if I actually remember rightly, it got pushed back by another couple of weeks, and I think it actually went into July. So I think it was actually July when we was actually allowed to go into our events and when we was allowed to go into our nightclubs. But because the festival that I went to, it was like outdoors and it was to some extent socially distanced, and it was actually still all right to go ahead. So that's where it started for me. And then after that, I jumped back with the Alliance crew, if I remember correctly, and I did an Alliance event, which was just absolutely amazing. Then I got booked for DNA with Scott Brown. Then I got booked for another DNA, which was a memorial stream. I got booked for Stomp for Jordan. I also got booked for Bounce to Your Drop. I did a night in a place called Service Station, which was like mixing house music. I got booked for another Bounce to Your Drop. I got booked for a Halloween DNA. I also got booked for 2 stompings. I played a stomping last minute, and then I'm due to play the Christmas stomping. So I can't really. I mean, maybe I should have video next week after the stomping Christmas one, but stomping for me is, to some extent, I know how it's going to go, and I know it's going to be good. Unless anything like absolutely amazing, like that just blows me away happens, I don't think there's going to be too much, that I'm really going to be missing out. Like, I know I'll enjoy myself. I know I'll do a really good set, and I always love, jumping with the stomping crews. I'm just trying to think if there is anywhere else that I've actually played that I can't remember, that I'm aware of. I think I have pretty much covered everywhere that I played at the moment. So I guess we'll sort of start off sort of from the sort of like, I guess, the worst, and sort of work our way up towards the best. Just take this little fleecy jacket off. So I'm just thinking in terms of the one I'd probably class probably for me the worst, and I've got to say for me it's going to be the Alliance event. Now again, this is nothing against Alliance, but I had a couple of bad experiences at that event, and they were just weird experiences. So the first one for me was I thought I might have got spiked at the event. Now, I remember the event well. It was on the 6th of August. Now, I know for a fact that something isn't right, because the 6th of August is like, it's about 3 days before I'm due to get paid. So I get my dole money through. So I know that sort of on the 6th of the month is like a time where I would be practically skint. I'm more or less just pushing through them last couple of days until I get paid. And I managed to scrape a little bit of money together, so I was still actually able to get to the event. And I met some people from Hull because they was playing as well, and we drove through to the event. And I remember it well because I remember taking £20 with me to the night. Now, I know that's not a lot for going on a night out, but at the time I was thinking it's a gig. As long as I can rock up there and perform, it's the only sort of logical thing I can think of doing in my mind. So anyway, so I get a bus down to my mates, and I buy a bottle of Coke from the shop, because I had to do that, because bus drivers, they don't take £20 on the bus, and they won't break a note that big. So I would have more or less knocked myself down to about 16, 15 quid. I mean, the Coke about 170, then the bus was 2 quid. So you're nearly getting down to about 16, 15 quid. So we get to my mate's house, and then the guy who's driving us, there's a few of us going, so we all give a fiver for the fuel. So that's fair enough. So I pay my way, fair enough, etc. Blah blah blah. So we get to the venue. It's Alliance. I'm seeing all my familiar faces. Blah blah blah. Yeah, the guy who's drove us, he's at the bar. He gets around and he says, "Do you want a drink?" Blah blah blah. So I'm all right. I'll have a pint of Foster's. Bearing in mind, at my mate's house, we had a little sort of like just a pre-mix before we headed off to the gig. So I had a beer there, and I think took a can for the journey as well. So by the time we got there, I'd had two beers. I think I think it was a Budweiser, and then I think there was no Budweisers left, so I took a Stella for the car. So anyway, so we get to the event. I have a beer. I see a couple of people from Driffield, and one of them buys me beer as well. And that's all I remember. And I think if I remember right, I think I bought one beer for myself. So about, in all fairness, I would have had about 4 beers. Nothing else, no shots, no spirits, and I was absolutely battered. I was absolutely like just in a state, to the point that later on in the night, it sort of becomes a blare, and I'm actually not even allowed back in the club, and all the rest of it, and literally I've left my microphone in there and everything. and it just felt really weird. And the people that I came with, who's giving me a lift, they didn't actually want to wait to see me perform on the last set, and they say that I apparently agreed to stay in Scarborough. I don't know if this is true or not. I think personally, I know I was probably in a bit of a state. I don't even know how I got in this state. But I don't think, like, because I knew myself before I went that, I was on, like, the bare minimum funds. So, like, if I'd have had a couple of drinks, I wouldn't have been able to get the train back, not even, the next day kind of thing. But lo and behold, I got left, or I asked to stay, which I don't know what happened. I'm not saying I didn't be asked to stay, but I'm not saying I did at the same time, because it doesn't sound like something I'd do. But then if you are in a bit of a state, you might just say something that you wouldn't normally say. So anyway, so the next day I had a bit of a pickle. My phone had died. Luckily, my friend had a house phone. The guy who put the event on, he let me crash at his house. So that was a little bit of a nightmare. So just because it felt weird, it didn't feel right. Things didn't seem right about the night. I don't even think I even actually got to perform either, which was a real sort of letdown. I'd come all that way. So that's why I'm going to put that night at the bottom of the list for me. So we're going to put the Alliance at the bottom of the list. So that's going to go last. So I think the next event, really to follow that, I'm going to say is the Stomp for Jordan. Now, I really enjoyed the Stomp for Jordan night. I played a house set downstairs. It was the first time playing a house set in a nightclub, so I was very thankful from my friend Dave New Vibe for giving me that opportunity to go ahead and play a house set. I was playing some classics that I was brought up around, and the vibe was just so good. However, there was just a few issues regarding the event. I was supposed to MC upstairs. The guy I was MCing for, just the mixing wasn't all that good. I'm not gonna lie. It was very hard. It was very loud as well. The music had just got like really loud at that point. And I know the upstairs sadly did sadly get closed. It got told it had to close because the level was just too loud, and I don't think the club was too happy with what was going on upstairs. So sadly, there was a few like little letdowns there to to the event, and it was just for me one of them nights where it just didn't go as well as I would have hoped it would have gone for me as well. I ended up going to an after party, and then I couldn't get back from the after party, so I ended up walking. And for me, it just, I've been to some other gigs, and I've just personally, no offences to the night or anybody who was involved in that night, but I've just been to some gigs where they've gone a lot better and a lot smoothly for me. So next up on that next list, I'm gonna say is gonna be the unrestricted trance night. So that night was a really good night. I'd never hosted a trance night before. Some people aren't always keen with having an MC or a host on a trance night, so it was a little bit of a, it's not like a new test for me, because I've normally just more like been an MC rather than a host, but I can host. But it was definitely going out of my comfort zone, and it was just sort of while I was going through that change of sort of taking my DJing more further, and sort of like putting the MCing on a little bit of a back burner. But I took the gig because I still like to take an MC booking as well, and it was still a fun one to do. And I enjoyed the trance music all night. It was absolutely banging and belting. Met some people from out of town that came through. Some people that came through from like Grimsby and Cleethorpes and stuff. From over the bridge. It was just a nice little experience for me. So I really enjoyed that little trance night vibe. It was just good. Next up for me, after the trance night, we've actually got the Harder Southwest Festival. Now I know you're probably thinking, putting a festival so low up the list. I know it's crazy, isn't it? But for me, the festival was a learning curve for me. And although I really enjoyed the festival, I really had a good time, and there was nothing against the festival. The production to put the festival on was just really good. The people that owned the farm where we hosted the event, you know, there were absolutely sound people. You know, there was it was just such a nice place. There was toilets. There was you know, there was just what you know what you would expect really, and what you would want for something, you know, that isn't on the scale or the size of something like Creamfields, but again, it was something that just had a really nice sort of feel to it, and it was just an enjoyable weekend. However, because it had kind of been like lockdown and everything, and you know we hadn't really been out raving, if you like, um, I went a little bit overboard, and I got drunk on both nights, and I did make a little bit of a fool of myself. And I have learned since then. I have learned quite a lot since then. So for me, you know, the festival was a learning curve, and that's why I wanted to put it so low, because I know myself, I could set myself some goals and some targets. I mean, the first night I got too drunk and I missed my set, didn't even play. I made up for it on the second day, but then after the set, I did actually end up getting quite badly drunk again. And it was just one of them where, you know, I know myself that on a more professional level, getting in a state like that is not always a good thing. So I've just decided that I would put this a little bit lower, and if I was to get booked for one again, I would more than definitely be more prepared and be more on a professional scale, if you like. So, but it was still a great blast. So next up for me is actually the DNA, and I'm gonna go with the Halloween one. I think. Actually, no, I'm gonna go with Billy's Memorial. Now, Billy's Memorial was a great load of fun. Was a really good event, and we went for a meal before the event. I think we did. I think it was the first time we went for a meal. To be honest with you, we went for food. I think. Yes, it would be. But the event itself was just a little bit of a. There was a few little issues with it. We had some issues getting the stream going, and then to top it all, USB stick hadn't saved the tracks on that I'd planned for the set. I was doing a B2B, so I had to plan for something a little bit different. And because I was B2B with someone and we planned something, he was expecting me to drop tunes that I didn't end up dropping. And I don't think he was too pleased about it, but it was just an error. It was just an error, but luckily I had backup tunes that I could play, and I had to sadly just play something a little bit different. So we're going to bring that one right there, because that was just absolutely still an amazing event, really good, but there was just a few little issues and errors for me. But I still had a blast. I still had a really good time. Enjoyed being on the mic, etc. All the rest of it, just absolutely amazing. So next up, we're going to go with the service station gig. Now, the service station gig was just a little last minute thing. There was after an extra DJ, so I filled in. And it was just a really good vibe, really. It was a lot of students just enjoying the night. Got a couple of requests, which sadly I couldn't play because I only had what was on my stick. But you know, I just went in and dropped a load of good house music, some classics, some remixes, some filthy drops, and just absolutely enjoyed the vibe. It was just really fun. I had a 2 hour set, and it just really made the night enjoyable. And it was just going in this club. I got control of some like lighting effects and stuff. I could tap this little screen and set some strobes off. I could click another little switch and set a smoke machine off. And I was just, it was in like a really good party vibe. So of Freshers Week, and it was just enjoyable. So I really enjoyed it. Absolutely 100% belting. So next up for me, up on the list of that one, we're gonna go with the DNA Halloween. So the DNA Halloween for me was a really enjoyable night. I dressed up. Sadly, I dressed up as a woman. I dressed up as Noreen. So if you remember my other YouTube channel. We ran a series called Park Drive. I voiced a grandma called Noreen, and she was like, what probably just, it was a lovable character, but I picked up this like old woman accent, and I decided that this, well, originally, I'd got like this wig and some clothes, and I was going to start doing some like funny sketches and putting them on YouTube. And I never like fully got the outfit completely finished, and then I thought, for Halloween, shall I just do it? You know, shall I go as it for Halloween? So I decided that I would. I played a set. I was on another B2B. I dropped an exclusive tune, and it went down an absolute treat. So I was very pleased with that one, and it just absolutely really rocked it, really. And then you know, I had a good bit of mic time as well. So it was just, you know, it was an enjoyable event, really, for that one. And then next up, for me, I'm going to go with the stomping. So the last stomping. I played a hard house set downstairs, which absolutely rocked the boat. It was just absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed the set. I'd sort of planned it and put it together, and it just seemed to work out really well. People actually enjoyed it as well. Some people were singing along. I got a few people actually into the second room, who was enjoying the vibe. So I was playing last minute. It was not, you know, it wasn't sort of like planned. It kind of got planned last minute. A DJ sadly was working away, couldn't get back in time for the gig, so they just needed to fill. And you know, I was going to the event anyway, so it was just sort of like, you know, put some tunes on a USB, you play the second room, and then we're gonna put you in the room two at Christmas, which is the one I've got coming up this weekend. So so that was a really enjoyable night. We had some wicked people on the lineup. It was just a great pleasure to play it. Next up is one that I forgot to mention earlier on, which was the Hull Fair. So I actually got to play the waltzers at the Hull Fair. For me, I'm putting this so high up because it was an experience that never in a million years did I ever think I'd get to do. You know, mixing some UK hardcore, while, you know, like kids and adults are going round on the waltzers. It was wicked. And again, it was through stomping that gave me that opportunity, so I was very grateful. And I used to MC at stomping before my DJ days sort of came back into motion. Got a few chances to MC at stomping, so I was forever grateful with Dave Fallows for giving me them opportunities. And it was just absolutely belting for me. And it was just an experience that you know, I'll be forever grateful for. Even if I never do it again, it's something that, you know, I can say that, you know, look, I have done it. I've MC'd I've DJ'd the waltzers, so it was a fun thing to do. Next up, well, we're on to our final two, and I think you know what these final two are going to be. And I knew what they was going to be before even making this stream and sitting back and, you know, thinking about these gigs. And it is the Bounce to Your Drop launch night. So Bounce to Your Drop launch night in Scunthorpe was a brand new night, brought to you by Top Vibe, Destiny and Ashton. It was a banging night. There was Club Filler, John Neal, Charlie Bosch, Flatline, Top Vibe, Destiny, Ashton and myself. And the room two was just like some house and classic anthems. And the night was just absolutely fantastic. It was at the time it was the best gig that I'd been to, and everything was just absolutely perfect. I mean, when you're getting booked at an event, there's like certain things you expect, and this event was just ticking all of the boxes. Everything was just absolutely on par. The promotion to the event was just absolutely fantastic. You know, this event was, you know, it was more or less spammed everywhere you could think of. You know, there was posters on lamp posts, there was posters in takeaways. You know, there was even like Scunthorpe news articles that were picking up on the night, and you know, sort of advertising the night, if you like. And you know, it was plastered all over Facebook. There was Skidoo links, there was VIP tickets and normal tickets. You know, it was just absolutely everywhere. It was a brand new big night coming to Scunthorpe, and they most certainly did not disappoint. It came in September, and it absolutely destroyed September and just left. Definitely left some shocked faces around the area with how well the event actually went. Played first in the main room, played a banging bounce set, and it was really for me just really getting back into bounce because I'd kind of gone off it, and then I sort of have got sort of like back into it. So it was very sort of like for me it was getting back into it and it was just enjoying it. So I was very pleased. You know, it sort of like got me back into it. So I didn't really know what to play as such. So I just put a few bits and bobs together, and I did sort of hope for the best, but seemed to go down there really well. And then Bounce to Your Drop was not to stop there, and we come on to my favourite gig, my best gig of the year by far was the Bounce to Your Drop with Ian Vandal. It was just, it was the best event that I have ever been to in my entire life to gig at. Out of any gig that I have ever taken, it was just the enjoyment was just absolutely fantastic. It was on point. Everything about it, the music, the vibe, the people, you know, the fact that it, you know, the weather was throwing a blizzard out there. You know, it was icy, it was frosty, it was snowing, it was raining, it was sleeting. The weather was so cold, and it did not stop the people of Scunthorpe and surrounding areas coming out to this night and coming to just hear this banging bounce night. And originally, I was supposed to just play Room 2. They said, you know, would I sort of take control of Room 2 and spin some classic house and some classic anthems? So I was like, yeah, of course I can do that. You know, I love my classic house, as you all know. My house to your house. So obviously I was all set. I was all fine and grand to do that. And then it got to about a week before the event, and they said they asked me if I would just happily take a USB with some tunes on just for the main room, just in case there was like a bit of a rush at the door, because two of the residents that play who put the night on, they also like work the door and stuff and work the tickets, and you know they work together on the night, which is a little bit rubbish for them, but I guess it's the pros and cons of putting a night on. You know, you can't put a night on and just enjoy the whole night yourself. You know, you have, I guess in some sense you're going to be working, and you know you're going to be seeing people coming through the door, etc. So I can understand in that sense. So they said just in case there was a bit of a busy rush at the door, or if there, you know, any trouble or anything going wrong, you know, they might not get to play their set. So obviously I put some tunes together, and lo and behold, I was asked to play the main room. I got a 45-minute set in the main room, so I was buzzed about that. It just topped on to what was already going to be a really good night for me. I was like, yeah, I can play a nice night, and I handed over to two of the out of town headliners, which was just Wicked, Nixie and Devise. They're a couple, and they're a duo DJ as well. Duo DJ group, and they just absolutely smashed it. You know, they played a wicked set. Sadly, I didn't get to catch it all because I was in the room too, and I had you know, I had a 90-minute set in the room too, so sadly I was missing it. And it was just, you know, they still played a belting set from what bits I got to hear of it. I heard them just, you know, first come on because I had to wait and eject my USB, and then I had to jump on over to the second room and get ready to in my house. And then as I came back, I think it was General Bounce that had come on, so I got to catch quite a bit of him and stuff like that. And then I headed over to the balcony where I got to meet the legend himself, Ian Vandal. He had arrived in Scunthorpe, and he had arrived in the building. And he was sat upstairs chilling on the balcony, which is a really good feature of the event. So, you know, you've got a headline that comes in. Now headliners, you know, they're big, they're liked and followed by a lot of people. So the amount of people on that dance floor that would have wanted a picture, or they would have like tried to be all over him and hug him. And I know that when, especially when you've been in the game for a lot of years, that can get quite boring, and you know, it can get a little bit. People can get fed up of it, and sometimes people want to just come to a gig, be able to just sit and chill out of the way of everybody before they actually come on the stage and do what they're going to do. So he was upstairs chilling on the balcony. Obviously, the balcony was made for all artists, so I could go up there and you know, I could go and chill up there and stuff like that. And you know, if I just wanted to get away from the action, and it was just absolutely, you know, it was an amazing night. And the Bounce to Your Drop brand, why I put them so high up in the list is just, you know, they tick all the boxes for me. So one thing that I will like to note, and again, this is nothing against any of the other events that I've seen get put on, but I've been booked for a few events where there's been a lot of like changes to the night. So, for example, like the flyer sometimes gets changed about 5 times, and then you're doing one set time, and then you get asked to do another set time, and then you know you get asked to play again at another time, or you start off being B2B with somebody, and then you're B2B with somebody else, and then that person can't make that time that you're on, so it gets changed again. And then you know you just have all these little sort of like hiccups. But with the Bounce to Your Drop, you're booked, you know what time you're playing, and you know if you're playing at say 11 o'clock, you're playing at 11 o'clock. If you're coming off at 12, you're coming off at 12. You're added into a group chat, which you know I like this especially for the launch night, because you know we was told like all the information that you would expect to be told if you come into an event, so where you can park, you know, there's a bit of a queue. So as an artist, how do you just get into the club? You know, can you actually just skip the queue? Is there a little side door that the artists can knock on and, you know, say, look, I'm here to perform, you know, and, you know, you give them your name, that kind of thing. There was a postcode. We was told like where the balcony was, where the toilets were located, the outside smoking area. So, you know, for like never been to that venue before, you know, it's just one of them things where having that information is just absolutely, you know, it's vital, and it works so well having that information that you know knowing all that stuff like where you can park, and you know just little details that might not seem important, but they actually help so much. And just you know like how the sort of like gigs are, you know, how it sort of like looks in the professionalism of a night, you know, sort of being told this kind of stuff. Because you know I ain't gonna go picking and naming people, but I was booked for a gig once. I'm not going to name the gig or the brand, because you know I'm not here to slate them as such. But I was booked for a night, and the flyer got released, and there wasn't even a postcode on the flyer. And I'm thinking, you know, if you want to put a night on and you want the night to do well, you want to bring people out of town, you know, where are people gonna know where to come? Do you know what I mean? It says the name of the club, which, yeah, all right, you could search the name of the club in and you could get the postcode on Google. But isn't it vital, like, the postcodes, like, you know, they, like you know, you have a postcode on a fly. I'm just looking back at some now. So, yeah, there's the one, so I'm looking at this Bounce to Your Drop one, and I can actually just looking to see if there is an actual postcode. So there's a date, tells you the time and the price. Yeah, so there's a postcode right at the bottom, but it's not like, it's small, but it's not like unnoticeable, like you'd see it there. You're not having to squint to see it. It's right at the bottom, and then I see like some other flyers as well that have got postcodes on them. So it does just show that having a postcode on the flyer you know, really helps. And the fact that I had to tell somebody who's putting a night on, bearing in mind I've never put a night on myself, you know, you've missed a postcode out on a flyer. Um, Kind of does make you think a little bit, you know. No offences, but anyway, that is it. That is my gigs. So we've gone from worst to best. So we started off with Alliance, we started off with Stomp for Jordan, and we just went on from there. We went through a list of my sort of like worst to best gigs, and we just leaded on with the leading up to the bounce to your drops. My favourite bookings of the year. So if you do watch this back and you did book me for an event, and you know you're a bit gutted that you're a little bit low down on the list, I just want to state again, this is nothing against your brand, nothing against your event. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't play for you again or I've physically got anything against you. I'm just, you know, I rate sort of on how I enjoyed the night as well. And it's not, you know, to slate any other events and say that one event is better than the other. It's just me sort of rating, you know, my favourite place where I personally played. Just, you know, did I enjoy the vibe? You know, did I enjoy the atmosphere? Did I enjoy the night? So the bounce to your drop nights, they're taking the prize at the moment. Um, but I guess instead of this being like just for the year, this could be like my favourite event, like of all time. So I'm guessing like, you know, one could sort of like take the place, if that makes sense. So like a new one could come in and absolutely smash it. You know, we would have to see. So maybe I'll update you in times to come. But like I say, we started off with Alliance, we had Stomp for Jordan, and we just went on from there. And we just rated all these events. So anyway, that's going to do it. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Boom.